I think one thing that strikes me here, or maybe I just want to ask this question. What is the unique thing that you see, apart from 4 of our pictures? What else do you see here on the screen? Thank you. And that's what when we were talking about how to start this session, and I was looking at the screen all over the place, you saw the robots. And the topic of our panel discussion today is the robotics, the deep tech, and how to convert this deep tech and robotic research into commercial and revenue generating ventures. So that's the concept of it. So before we start off, maybe a quick one-liner of what you stand for. I know there is a great introduction with, for each one of us. You would like to be remembered by the audience as maybe one-liner.
Thank you for this platform. So I head the risk practice for FIS Global Solutions. It's a fintech leader, and I also lead the Premia as a regional director for Bangalore chapter. We also have some kind of career opportunities hub where people who are looking for startup help or placements help, they can approach me and can help them be part of the group. It's a platform where people can post the roles or startup opportunities, and then people can continue to talk and take it forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Manish Dsouza. By study, I am a biomedical engineer, but I've done multiple roles in finance, mostly around business. So whether it's private equity or investment banking or M&A and venture capital now, I am mostly the capital guy in most of the teams. I help raise funds, I deploy funds, like building businesses, been part of a lot of venture studios as well. So how I'll be remembered, I think somebody who understands capital and business.
Okay, the guy with the money.
Right. Shiva Shankar here. An aerospace professional, 20 years into that segment, and last 8 years in startup ecosystem. Presently heading the incubators for the JSS across all 3 different locations, Bangalore, Mysore and Noida. We have 200 startups under our portfolios, cut across all the segments and sections, facilitating most of the government enabled funds, and plus the the next level the parties when they wanted to engage with us.
Thank you. So myself, the mathematician turned computer scientist, turned aerospace engineer, into a business leader, now a GCC leader, and now getting my hands and legs dirty in the startup ecosystem. So that's how you can remember me as.
A multi-talented person.
What's it?
Multi-talented individual.
Maybe. That's what you need for a startup anyway. So just setting the tone, can any one of you guess how many deep tech startups do we have in India? Just a wild guess. It's not a kaun banega crorepati question. Some number. Come on. 4,000? 10,000? 200? Okay, at least some number. So according to ChatGPT, it's 4,000. Whatever I can get, you can also get from ChatGPT. So let's assume that, let's agree on maybe around 4,000. And just working back from the deep tech startups. Deep tech startups is, you can always classify them as somebody working on some AI solution is also now classified as deep tech startup, unfortunately. But by definition, there is something fundamental first principles research that goes into, building a deep tech startup. And a significant amount of research that's done in all the universities in India is not seeing the light of the day as commercial ventures. And there are reasons are many, and that's the reason why we have the eminent panel here to talk through and also talk about some best practices that can be leveraged by you and anybody else who's listening to this at a later point of time. So let me start with you, Manish, the guy with the money. Manish, okay, that's good. You're working on the incubator which deals with the robotics, right? So so when you get a lot of these ideas to you, what is the first thing that you do? 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 What is the first thing that you do And I assume that you're also working with some of these, the academia, universities, and the people come to you. What is the fundamental problem that you see those ideas are not seeing the light of the day from your perspective?
I think most of the research that happens is just based out of need for them to do a research, and not because you need to have a product or you need to have, you're solving a problem. I think that is the biggest problem, so to speak. Research is important, but why not every research has to be a commercial product or a business. But the idea to have a vision saying, okay, I'm solving this problem and my research is directed towards solving it in some form or the other, that is not there in academia at this point. Industry engagement with academia is very, very minimal. I do a lot of sessions in a lot of colleges. I don't see much. The professors know theory very well, better than any of the industry professionals, but there's no engagement between industry and academia, and that's where there's no idea of having a research that will become a business. Unlike your Yales and Stanfords and others, where a lot of entrepreneurs come in and businesses are built with the professors. That doesn't happen in India. I think that is the biggest challenge that I see in terms of academia not being able to convert into commercial products. Also, vision is very important for somebody in terms of the kids building or any entrepreneur building, right? They never think of going to a professor in a college who's had a PhD in a particular subject to better their product. They always look at market and market peers. It's never gone to first principles. Go back to school, understand who's got deep expertise, 20, 30 years expertise in this, and that never happens. So it's both ways. There's no bridge. And I always tell all the colleges, all the deans saying, this is one thing you need to fix. We have enough and more engineers, but we need to start building something rather than just being increasing the employee count and staff count in a MNC or any other companies.
No, great point. I think the universities have the time and the resources to do the research, and the startups have the zeal to go and solve a problem that generates money. I think that collaboration is what is needed badly, right? So thank you. And going to Shiva Shankar, let me jump to Shiva Shankar. So you are in the helm of the incubation center, and that's where the core research comes to you. And a lot of students and professors and PhD scholars, they come up with the research. They have no idea how to create a business, right? And that's where you come into the picture. So tell us, what are the foundational issues that you see in this academia incubation ecosystem that is hindering them to go forward?
Right. Let me give a clarity on Indian context of research first. We never set our education system for taking research into commercial from the beginning. So that's the fundamental foundation itself was not built like that. If you take any of the public sectors today, whether it is DRDO or maybe all other, what was set for certain national interest required related kind of a stuff. Coming to the premium institution, including the IICs or maybe IIDs as well, IICs is set for the research, but looking at the even commercial part of that, given the number of years they are operating into that, industries got benefited that, but as a individual people going and starting a business out of that, as a researcher to the entrepreneur is a big jump in that on its own way itself. So very different mindset, very different skill set and also approach itself on it. Coming to all of the rest of the colleges itself, we don't see anybody start a research for to develop the business ever. So now, because we see in the last 10 years, government is pushing, people are feeling that, hey, why are we doing the fundamental research? What are we doing with that kind of stuff? We started sensing that there is an urgency has been created, and the results have started seeing from last couple of years, where we see campus-driven, research-driven, and faculty-driven and student-driven products and solutions have been coming out. But still, the big gap around then is taking the commercial route is the next stage, where the ecosystem comes into the picture. So where in which whether the college or campus having incubator or not having, and if they're able to reach out to the industry, or maybe they wanted to build a workable product, or maybe a market fit product kind of a thing, is the second journey which they need to look into that. The culture shift is happening at the ground, on the ground level. More than the research, we say people wanted to solve a problem, people try to give themselves an opportunity. That is happening. On the core domain research area, still long way to go for us, where in which we start the research because of that particular reason, and we are able to translate into value for either the industry or the government, or for the public good, or for myself. So that translation things have started happening. That's where we see the transition of the funds from earlier and today government emphasizing on last 2 years, bringing the core element, the elephant in the room is what we call, is emphasizes funding those kind of a stuff and putting a commercial into it as well. Just not the research, but commercial values to be also be created out of it.
Yep. No, but thanks. And if there is anybody in this audience, who is interested to work with some of this fundamental research that's happening in these incubators, maybe there is a guy here, you can work with him, and you can, you can bring in your expertise so that you can, some of those commercial research can be, or rather the fundamental research can be commercialized. That's an opportunity, but thank you. Now, Ramesh, you have been in various segments and have a lot more in the finance segment and education segment. However, most of this research that comes out, if you go to any expo, you see so much of this getting demonstrated. Yeah, we have this POC, they have the prototype ready, and it's ready to be commercialized. But we don't see any of this getting, seeing the light of the day. What do you think are the challenges out there?
Sure. It's a great question. Research, if you see, research is a good idea. The research gives us the best ideas. Are they commercially viable or not? How do we know? How do we come to know a research is commercially viable or not? Only if it adds value to the customers. I'll give you one example, or maybe two I can provide. If you look at core banking solutions, if you want to build a new generation core banking application, it's massive. It would be as big as 5,000 to 6,000 screens, 20-30 modules, and there are so many moving parts, 5,000 database tables. It takes at least 3 to 5 years to build the new generation core banking application. And big firms have tried this, and then later they started failing in implementing. The reason is that the moment they go to the customers, they are asking them how many years it takes to implement. And the minimum time it takes is 3 to 5 years, because it has so many downstream systems to be connected, so many upstream systems to be connected, and then everything to work seamlessly, and then the customer should be happy at the end. So all these things, so there is so much uncertainty is there, and then finally the customers are saying that, and at the end what is the value? So probably a better smooth flow for the customers, and will it generate so much revenue that putting this effort would mean to them, right? And second example, there is some good guidelines, given by Basel. We call it as, for the market risk, we call it as a fundamental risk view of trading book. That gives a very good risk measurement calculations, talks about at a dealer level, at a desk level, how much risk is involved, and overall how much impact to the capital. But the moment the banks looked at it, this requires additional capital and additional cost to implement, and then they started feeling that it's not that value to implement it, and whereas some of the banks felt that their portfolio is not so heavy to implement such a massive calculations. So so the basic fundamental thing that is required is value creation to the customers. I would call the other way is product market fit, right? The investment that is put on the research and then converting into a commercial product should create value to both the customers and then to the startup or the one who is building it.
Oh, great. I think it's very interesting, the analysis from three of you. And yesterday I listened to a few of the panel, and we keep listening to lots of these discussions, and everywhere that the conversation is always that you already have an idea that you want to market, right? So most of the suggestions, recommendations, frameworks is all about how to take it to the customer, how to sell it more, how to reach out to more customers, how to expand in more geographies. But the core problem lies in, is that particular technology on which this solution is built is scalable? And I talk to so many founders, I'm sure you guys do that. We hardly hear this conversation, right? We don't know whether the technology readiness has been proved to the level that it can be scaled to the infinity, right? There is a TRL level 1 to level 9, and most of the valley of death for the research to commercialization happens from 4 to 9, because we just build the prototype, we assume that it's ready, but there's so many other things that needs to be done. In fact, as part of the networking, we're talking to some of the other founders, ideators, and everybody is stuck between 4 to 9. Okay, so that leads us back to, we have admired the problem enough. Now, I think we need to look at what are the best practices from your own experiences on how to handle this, or maybe some examples of how did you handle this particular problem. Maybe we'll start with you. To start with, how do we go beyond the investors or the market fit where they look at ROIs and all of this? What would be your recommendation, best practices for the researchers or the innovators who are moving into the commercial ventures?
Sure. In terms of prototype to start?
From prototype to, yeah.
Okay, sure. So many times startups build prototypes with the low-hanging fruits. So something they build it and then see that, okay, whether the startup is working or not. But the prototype should focus on the toughest problem they are solving to the customers. And they should look at, is the customer is going to pay for this when they solve this problem. So, and then the scalability is the next aspect. So if these things are looking good, I think it's a good commercial product to take it forward.
Good. So again, expanding the same to come to Manish. So you see this robotics and the deep tech aspect. There is a POC paranoia all over the place, right? Why is it that we don't talk a lot about the robotic, whatever that you see? Most of them are either imported from China or somebody else is building, right? We have a lot of these famous events that happened recently. So if you have to give an advice or recommendation or a best practices, multiple of them, what would that be for the people who are working in this deep tech? I'm sure you must be doing the same already in your incubator.
Building a robotics startup is really difficult. That's the start. There's not much of robotic engineers or mechatronics engineers to start off with. And robotics is not just hardware. It's amalgamation of hardware and your AI and the software. And the problem with deep tech is that when you start out, you don't know whether whatever you're building will work or not.
Yeah.
And that is where ecosystem support comes into play. India is just trying to acknowledge that we need to build product. India is a service economy. It's been a service economy. We shy away from something like a moonshot idea. If ChatGPT was going to be built in India, it would have not got any funding. So AI would have been stuck forever. So that's where India was. A lot of efforts are happening. A lot of people are now getting into building products. India is slowly moving to a product economy. That's going to change. It may take slower time, but then equally responsible are investors as well who don't put in enough money. People always look for ROI. I think that if that dynamic changes, I think we can see a lot of things coming out in terms of your robotics and other things. Also, people building, like extending from the previous question, the first self-driving car when it was being built, right? In US, I think the company was called Cruise or something. So when the idea came out, there were no takers, and this guy got into YC, and YC suggested him, don't sell the concept of self-driving cars, it's too far off. Building a car itself is complex enough, and you're fighting with the Fords and others of the world. So why don't you have something that you can attach to whatever systems, and you can start with that and then move forward. So I think that's where revenue realization, if you can show it faster, that's where investors would be more interested, a lot of corporates would be more interested, and partnerships with corporates will help you develop these faster. That's one of the avenues people don't look at all, because all the corporates, all the MNCs now realize that their innovation pace is pretty slow, and they need to get these startups incubated for them to grow faster. So I think these are a few things that you can do to get robotics or deep tech things out in the market and make it more mainstream as your consumer apps.
No, well said. I think I can correlate back when we were working in aerospace maybe 2 decades ago. There is this question of unmanned air vehicles and pilotless flying. People are like, what the hell is this? And what if something goes wrong, the passenger doesn't know how to fly? And then driverless cars came in, then suddenly the fever caught up with, okay, maybe we should do that in the air as well. And now the UAV is a reality, and it's not commercially viable yet, but it is going to be, right? So thank you. And moving to Shiva, you have 6 incubators, right? That's pretty big deal.
Yeah.
And so what will be some of these non-obvious practices that you recommend for people to convert this idea to prototype, to product, to the market that you are seeing? I'm sure each of your incubator is at different stage of maturity, so I think you are the right person to.
More than incubator, I say, if you're asking the deep tech product or maybe an enterprise development kind of stuff, is a very, what do you call it, the patient game, so in a deep tech. So as we adding that kind of centers, when whether the students or the researchers or maybe a founders coming with that kind of a idea, the first responsibility for us is like validation and assessment with respect to the founding team, with respect to the product or the solutions they're building into that, and maybe a market available. I'll give a classic, what we are experimenting at the, as we are speaking itself. We have a lot of programs now directly being rolled out by the state and central government in deep tech space itself. So for example, if you take the defense IDEX programs, like if you go online and look at how many problem statement you want to address in defense segment, within the defense, if you take the electronics, mechanical, maybe in a core area of the semiconductors, so many things are there. What is the starting point for them? The good is if you are a founding team is having basic knowledge, and defense things is pretty straightforward. If you are able to demonstrate to them your competencies and capabilities, you will have a fund for even prototype development, without having a revenue generation burden on the core team. So that's how they started. Now the second leg, which is on the BIRAC itself, where the biotech space, even there, even central government, lot of open calls comes. The tune of fund will be going from somewhere from 2 crores to 25 crores. But that is required competencies across the founding team, association with the academia, that is the university, and then the experts. So they are make sure that the founding team have that a balance available kind of stuff. Most of the people may not be knowing this kind of a thing. This working with the government required a little more patience as well, understand the objectivity of each of the schemes coming into that, prepare towards that. Right. So when we engaging with those kind of opportunities, these 3 areas you always look at. Hey, competencies are required. Otherwise, they're not going to survive with the capital itself. Otherwise, market is available for that. Reasonably, will get to know with a bit of a research and analysis what we can do with the current system, and then tools we can able to pick it up. And whom they are working for, whom they are addressing, it is very much clear at the beginning itself. We take a bet on that. So, and we direct them what kind of a possible initial seed fund or maybe grant available towards that. Knowing that they're able to do reasonably a product, workable product, demonstrable product, we can be taken to the investors to first discussion.
Yep.
So at least we can give them in a 1 year or maybe 12 to 18 months kind of horizon, taking it, are you able to survive those 18 months without committing any of your personal financial things towards this? That's the thing. So we end up in looking at their background, their competencies, and this is coming in up. So we give a fair bit of understanding on all of it. So these are one of the good practices we are looking into that. Not anything and everything coming to us we encourage or maybe even engage in is not very viable and suitable to as well, because it is too risky as well, we understand that. And second, this student aspirations coming in and working on. We take little lenient there. The idea for us is like, we want them to bring them on this side of the activity. So we give a fair bit of moderated opportunities where they can build a product, whether it can be deep tech or maybe anywhere, it is irrelevant. Are they able to think about building a product and then the solutions from their knowledge and available facilities, or maybe mentorship, or maybe wherever they can source those kind of stuff. That's the spaces we are playing into that. I'll give an example itself. IIT Mumbai, Idea Forge, everybody know they are in a drone segment. 2006 it started. Look at when they are actually been seen in the market. 18 years.
18 years, yeah.
Correct? And which segment they worked. When they started, they also understand they can build a drone for anything and everything. After 4 years, they realize that they cannot do it. So they end up in a small segment of the drone where the payload is less than 2 kgs. They have mastered the art of the that particular segment. Even so, then we started asking questions why they cannot scale it up as any other product itself. It's not the engineering can be easily do that in that way. So that's why the constraint comes in kind of a thing. So now they have become regular suppliers for Indian defense, and they're able to raise a further fund. So it's the transition time, are they able to survive? We will look at all the founders' journey in that 10 years between. So they have done other works as well, but they keep on working on the core area, even believing that it is possible, and then are able to build around that. Likewise, I give another example, Bellatrix, again college students worked on that, the proposal systems, and recently they have raised 20 million, and again they are from tier 2 cities. And they saw that the core engineering things which some of them are not able to solve in the industries, because in India R&D budget is way low or not existing. So that's why we are also not having that culture even in our industry itself. So putting a money and time, it itself is a little bit of a challenge was. This is where the corporate R&D challenge comes in, where the combination of the open opportunities, corporate needs, and the talent available. So this combination, if they're able to see through that, they can catch on, the journey of 18 to 30 months of this deep tech enablement is possible, but they need to stay on.
You've given a playbook, man, really. Wonderful. In fact, very recently, I can't name the university, but one of the CEO joined the university as a professor on something, a professor of practice. And then he defined a new curriculum for a BBA, and it is to, from the day you start your BBA, you get your problem statement. It could be a market problem or it could be a deep research problem, but by end of your 4th year, you actually build a venture. So you live through your problem, building a solution while you are learning the concepts. It seems to be very innovative, because that's where I think what the blend of the industry knowledge that is coming in. Because at the end of it, you can have great ideas, great thought process, great framework, unless you know how to execute right, it falls flat. And I'm sure these guys can vouch for me. So now going to the last segment, which is where the collective wisdom of each of you. It's typically the design thinking principle is, every time you should look at, when you want to do something, when you want to recommend something, you should always look at what you want to stop doing it, so that you can pick up something new to start, right? And there are some things that, as an appreciative inquiry, to figure out what are the good things that you're doing that you need to do better. So I want each one of you to tell me, what is one thing that you recommend we stop doing, one thing that you recommend we start doing, and one thing that you recommend we should continue doing or doing it better while taking the deep tech or the robotics research or any tech research into commercials. Whoever wants to pick up the first.
Could you repeat it? Stop doing?
Stop doing, start doing, and continue. Stop, start, continue. It's a typical design thinking principle. So,
Maybe I will go first.
yeah.
Okay. So I would say start product thinking. Before finding the first investor, find the first customer who can pay for your product. Right? And then stop fantasizing about the solution, fantasizing about the research outcome, and looking at the commercial angle, and then what value it creates, what benefits the stakeholders, right? So that is something that has to be taken care. Have good mentor from the industry perspective, probably a combination of industry, academy, and then probably a first customer has one mentor, right? So have this kind of combination and start building it. That would definitely take it to the next level, and continue investing on deep tech research and utilization of the AI, robotics, and reduce the cost of developing the solutions and bring the efficiency.
Thank you, Ramesh.
I would say, stop copying products from West. India has its own unique problems. So stop looking at that. Get inspired. I'm not saying don't get inspired, but understand India better. So start going first principles on how to build and what your grand vision should be. Most of the times it's not there. It's a very short-term vision. Okay, I want to create this product. That's about it. But you got to think much more larger. Investors always like to understand what your grand vision is, how you can be so many billions of dollars of company. If you don't have that vision, you're never going to hit it. And continue building, I would say. There is enough and more support for deep tech now compared to yesterday, last year, 5 years back.
Yep.
People still don't know government's got so many grants available. People just don't utilize this. State government, center, corporates, incubators, institutions, everybody is sitting on cash to give to the founders. But founders need to pick something that is solving some problem, and there is enough money available. So most of the founders I speak to, them, only problem they see is money. I would say money is the least of your worries.
Yep.
There's enough and more money available. You need to create a good product that's also create problem to a large scale of people, and I think it's not a cliche to say I'm going to change the world. You really can change the world.
Yep. No, great stuff. I think I just actually made a note. So the policy is for $1 trillion of deep research R&D fund. It's available now. Yeah, great point. Shiva.
Right. I'm not getting where to founder's point of view, because they always do that one-on-one. So based on that, okay, you can always then, okay, you stop doing that, you can pick it up and then you work on that. I don't see any template as such in this ecosystem. It all depends on the founders' capabilities and agility, how they see that world. Some of them, same opportunity to founders look at very differently. So that's what I see. The founders are become very important. And maybe I keep saying to everybody, come whatsoever, don't stop the preparation. The preparation, especially in a deep tech, is so good. You'll be end up in knowing that you're so close to that opportunities, and that is where you're able to build the momentum. It's not like I thought about yesterday and then I'm able to start tomorrow. That's never going to happen here. So there are enough opportunities are there they can always look at. So in continuation part of that, the second and third question, never stop preparing. You keep continue on that kind of a stuff. Opportunities are always there. What you can only stop is only yourself, but not doing it. And thinking about what else is that. So this is very very dicey space where we cannot give one answer like that. But I always say that current India market and the global market, looking at India market perspective and opportunity is very big. And knowing that the numbers itself, it's become it's a goosebumps for all of us. If we are going from 5 trillion, 10 or 10 trillion in next 10 years, look at the value which is we are going to add into the our market itself. Which segment is going to add into that? Until unless we are, what are the areas we are talking about, that adds more value here. Combination of all, whether it is AI or robotics, maybe IoT, ML, data centers, semiconductors, everything is happening in India today. So look at how the big guys even struggled for 5 years even talking about a semiconductor. Government speculated over a period of 10 years to look at that industry. So now the momentum has created in that space. That particular one industry having a big impact on most of other industries in India, that is a positive side of that. That's where most of the product side of the companies will see much more in coming days.
No, wonderful. Sorry for putting you guys on the spot on this third question, but thank you for your honest answers. I think that comes, gets us to the closure of this. But, as we all understand from what our eminent panel talked about, continue to learn, continue to hold your passion, continue to look for the opportunities. And I think there is enough infrastructure that is made available now, and just be aware what is the available infrastructure and the safety net, and continue to build on top of it. So with that, thank you so much, guys, and it's wonderful having the pre-conversations, a lot to learn, and I'm sure this is how the network happens, where we work together. So thank you so much, and thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. India surely sees a bright light ahead in this sector. With right opportunities, corporate leads, government assistance and guidance will be able to make a great space here. Thank you all the panelists. Mr. Manish Dsouza from Shiva.